On. Sorry about that, the mic was muted. But we are live. Welcome to the 46th episode of Coaster Time, hosted by me, Carrick from Coaster Hour. And for today, we will be catching up on the announcements that took place since the last stream that I did. And of course, as with any Coaster Time episode, we'll be having other segments. For today, I will be doing a few Q&A segments along with a quiz, buy or sell, and guess the coaster. So that's going to be what's going on today, and we'll move right into the first Q&A. But before we go into that, I should note that I was able to go to Orlando for the first time just about 2 weeks ago. I went there to attend the SkyNext event hosted by Skyline Attractions for 2 days. It was my first theme park industry event, so that was really cool. Got to meet a lot of new connections and really learn a lot more about working in the theme park industry, which is something that's piqued my interest in more recent years. But along with that, I was also able to go to many parks, such as Universal Studios Florida, Islands of Adventure, SeaWorld Orlando, Fun Spot Orlando, and Fun Spot Kissimmee, all of those for the first time. I also was able to do Halloween Horror Nights and a teeny bit of Hallowscream at SeaWorld Orlando during my trip. So all of those places I went to for the first time, and you can ask away your questions. I'll actually be right back. Someone knocked at my door, so get those questions in, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, sorry about that. So we'll be doing Q&A now. A few of you in the chat, notifications have been getting out a little slower during the past few streams, so I figured that'll probably what's been going on. But like I said, went to Universal for the first time, Orlando specifically, which was awesome. SeaWorld Orlando, Fun Spot Orlando, and Fun Spot Kissimmee all for the first time. I will be answering any sort of questions related to those parks during the Q&A segments. But outside of that, I'll also be probably doing a tier list video, kind of going through all the rides I rode when I was there. So anything that I don't get to during this stream will be something that I talk about then. But I mean, that it was a great trip. I'll just say that much before the questions come in. It just all in all, of course, with the event that I went to, that was really awesome. And then, of course, doing all these new parks that were, some of them, very high bucket list parks, and riding the rides that I was able to ride with Velocicoaster, obviously, Incredible Hulk, Mako, all these rides that it's I've heard so much about, and finally being able to do them was so amazing. So, and doing Horror Nights, I'll just say with Horror Nights that I had a little bit of an unfortunate sort of situation with that. I was there for 2 nights. The first night I was there, it rained out really badly, so I had to call it a night early, and because basically at one point 4 of the 6 mazes were closed, so wanted to mention that for anyone who had any questions. I was only able to do 8 out of the 10 mazes at Horror Nights through the 2 days I was there. It was still a really fun time. Got to see the show as well, Nightmare Fuel. But wanted to mention that. The 2 I missed out on, for anyone wondering, is Chucky, and the other one was Oddfellows, which that one I was pretty bummed that I had to miss out on, but had to make some sacrifices there just given the circumstances. So wanted to mention that. But like I said, any questions you have, it doesn't have to relate to the trip, can really be about anything, or if you have any questions about rides, let me know in the chat below. Also, if there is, hopefully there should not be any technical difficulties. I know there's been not too recently, but sometimes there is. So yeah, already Michael comes in with our first question. Favorite coaster that I rode on the trip? Velocicoaster, very easily. Should come to no surprise. That was easily my favorite coaster and ride that I rode while I was in Orlando. I mean, it is absolutely spectacular. I think one thing that it does better than any other coaster I've In this case, really actually ever seen, not necessarily when you're on ride, though it is an amazing ride. But the one thing that I do really have to praise Velocicoaster for is the presentation of the coaster is top notch. I don't think there's any other coaster I've ridden that has as good of a presentation just looking at it from off ride, and even in the queue with like how it's presented and everything. Just sort of all of it with the rock work and all the different angles you can see the elements and everything. It is such a beautiful coaster. So I think it does that better than any others. But as for the ride itself, it did have to warm up for me. I won't lie. My first ride I got on it, I was a little disappointed. Kind of early, sort of morning-ish front row ride. But once it warmed up, the ride was absolutely fantastic. The two inversions in the first half are really good. And once the ride's warmed up, the airtime moments are also very fun in the first half. But definitely, once you get into that rolling second launch, I think that's really where the ride hits and is at its best. The top hat, absolutely absurd. Zero G stall is amazing. You have those two back-to-back off-axis. One's a wave turn, one is like an off-axis hill. Hills that are wild. I will say that the speed hill going into the Mosasaurus roll wasn't as strong as I expected, but I think honestly that might be for the best because the Mosasaurus roll is crazy. You are being forced downward toward the water as you go through it, so I kind of see why people say you get airtime. And those last two hills after the Mosasaurus roll are also like really strong. I thought they were going to be dud elements, but they surprised me with how strong they were. So, I mean, that was fantastic. And I was able to get a night ride on it, fortunately. Probably sacrificed a maze or two at Horror Nights by doing that, but honestly, well worth it. Front row night ride. It was so good. My number 4 overall coaster for anyone who cares. For my overall rankings, and my number 1 true steel coaster, if you don't count hybrids. I mean, I count hybrids as steel coasters, but like purely steel coaster, for whatever that's worth, it's my number 1 of those. So, yeah, so that's going to be my favorite. How was Pteranodon Flyers? I did not steal a child, so therefore I did not ride it. Funny thing is, I was with Christian, and Christian from Theme Park Horizons, actually. And we were actually going through the Camp Jurassic area, which is like the kids area. It's actually really cool. They have some really cool caves and stuff. Like, I'd never heard or seen anything about it. It's actually like a really sick kids area for whatever that's worth. And we were looking at Pteranodon Flyers, and I was surprised how much the structure moved. So, I mean, I can say that. I didn't write it, though, so that's like the only analysis I have really there. But, yeah, that's probably one I'll never get to, but it is a very interesting looking ride, I suppose, and a very weird looking coaster in general. So, but yeah, unfortunately was not able to get that one. That was probably one of the more notable Universal rides I missed. I mean, the only credit I missed, and I mean, that and probably High in the Sky Seuss Trolley or whatever it's called was a little bit of a miss there. Wanted to check that one out too, but it just didn't line up. So, yeah. Hello, Stanford Bridge. Nice to see you here in the chat. Nice to see you once again. And, yeah. So any other questions anyone has, you can ask about, like I said, the trip or anything else. The Harry Potter areas, best themed areas anywhere for you. So I've actually already done Hogsmeade at in Hollywood. So, I mean, yes, obviously the one in Orlando is better in terms of, like, the Hogsmeade there. And then between it and Diagon Alley, I did prefer it, Hogsmeade. But, I mean, those areas are amazing. Like, the attention to detail is incredible. So, like, are they the best themed areas anywhere for me? I I honestly, man, I think maybe. I would say I think if you put it together as like an overall package, I would take it over Galaxy's Edge if you count Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade together, or even like Orlando Hogsmeade, I'd probably take over Galaxy's Edge. So I would say yeah. Between the ride collection and how immersive they are, I wasn't able to mess with the wand things this time. I did mess with it way back when I did it in Hollywood, but I mean they are amazing. I was able to do the train as well, so which is neat. Nothing like if you missed out on it, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's like not like I don't want to say you're not missing out on much, but like it's not like the most important thing in the world. But if it's a short line, it's cool to do. There's some cool things with it. So I think yes, those areas are amazing, and I would probably say yeah, best themed areas that I've been to. So thoughts on Velocicoaster? I did just go over that, but basically just to wrap it up. In what it does better than any other coaster I've ridden is presentation, and then yes, combination of theming with thrilling elements is what it does. Like I said, better than any other coaster I've ridden, and it was awesome. My number 4 overall coaster. Had to warm up a bit because the first half I found pretty weak outside of the inversions early on in the day, but once it warmed up, it was pretty good. And then everything after the rolling launch is just sensational. So, I mean, it's a phenomenal coaster. One of the best I've ridden. Was able to get a night ride on it in the front row, and it was fantastic. So, it's still Voyage. Voyage is still number 1. Velocicoaster is my number 4 coaster. So, I was not expecting it to beat Voyage. But for what it is absolutely amazing. So, I mean, it deserves the praise that it gets. And I can totally respect and understand why some people would have it as their number 1 overall coaster. Just not personally for me. What do I think will go into Poseidon's Fury's spot? Whatever, I believe in the Legend of Zelda rumors. I think the Lost Continent will be rethemed to Legend of Zelda, and they need to put that boat ride somewhere that was like within the concept art they had, or whatever the main Legend of Zelda attraction is. I'm going to assume it's going to be the boat ride concept is going to be what kind of utilizes that area. So that's what I'm going to go with. Legend of Zelda boat ride in that spot. I have not talked about White Lightning yet. No. I did get to ride it twice. I got to go there as part of the Sky Next event, and so I was able to ride it twice. First ride was kind of late day, 5th row, so second to back row. And then my second ride was in the front row at night. I did prefer it in the front. Yes, it was running better, but I felt like the airtime was better up in the front. And the ride has some pretty nice pacing, I will say that. It's kind of an interesting coaster. I wouldn't call it a family coaster, but it feels like somewhere in between like a Gravity Group family coaster and your normal GCI coaster, if that makes sense. Like somewhere in between there in your intensity. Like somewhere between, I guess, Kentucky Rumbler and Apocalypse in terms of like what it kind of is. It's a fun ride for sure. I do think though, out of all the operating GCIs I've done, it is the lowest ranked one I have. And that's not saying it's bad. I like all the currently operating GCIs I've done, but it just doesn't quite. It is a very small scale ride. And I think the other GCI coasters have a little more to offer. I don't consider that as a coaster credit, and I did not ride it. So I did not do High in the Sky trolley. I did want to do it, but I just didn't work out exactly. That was probably the most significant ride at Universal Orlando between the two dry parks, like probably the most major one I missed. So, unfortunately, I did not get to do that one. Number 2 and number 3 credits. So, my number 2 one is very complicated. I've mentioned it in the past, but it's Beast at night specifically. It is like the craziest sort of flip, I guess, because if it wasn't at night, I don't know if it, like, maybe it's a top 40 coaster for me. But I don't even know about that. But at night, it is my second favorite coaster I've ever ridden. And then, yeah, number 3, Steel Vengeance. So that, you were right on the money for that. Is Pipeline my new favorite stand-up? Yes, but it's a completely different ride experience from the other stand-up coasters, which actually I imagine probably for some people who've watched the channel for a while, you might be a little surprised to hear that it is my new favorite stand-up. Was very impressed with Pipeline the Surf Coaster at SeaWorld Orlando. I don't think I can go too much into it, but was also able to get a little behind the scenes tour of it with the Skynex event that I went to, which was really cool. But the coaster itself, it is unlike really anything else out there. The airtime you get on it with the way the seats move up is very unique. So it is very much a very different ride experience from what the stand-ups originally offered and really what any other coaster offers. So that one was kind of one of the sneaky, like, surprise coasters of the trip. I definitely would say was Pipeline the Surf Coaster. It is my new favorite stand-up, and I did actually have it as my number 3 coaster at SeaWorld Orlando. So I know a lot of people, I think, usually slot it in as like 4, or, well, the thing is, Kraken was closed when I was there. It was down for maintenance. I knew it was going to be like that, so Kraken would not be involved there. But yeah, Pipeline was a very neat ride for sure. So, and definitely a surprising coaster for sure. I do like Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket. I was a pretty big fan, I would say. It's my favorite ride at Studios. Bit of a tough competition between it and Mummy. I think both are pretty close. Both have some really nice moments, but I mean, the airtime on Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket is there's a lot of it, and it's quite strong. And I mean, the onboard soundtrack, I listened to Darude Sandstorm most of the time, which was very fitting for that ride. It's just such a fun ride. And honestly, the mid-course brake runs didn't bother me all that much, because you were going to get good airtime off of the drops. I will say I did prefer front row over back row. Most people prefer it because it's smoother. The reason I actually preferred front row is because I felt like the entrances into the brake runs, and especially the final pop into the final brake run, were a lot stronger there, and you still got some pretty good airtime during the drops, even if it wasn't quite as good as the back. So that was definitely also a bit of a surprise for me as well, but definitely a fan of that ride. That was another one of those, like, kind of hidden gem surprises, which is a little unfortunate because I don't think it has a whole lot of time left, but it's a fun ride for sure, and I really enjoyed it. All right. Did I eat at Mythos? Yes, I did. So, credit to Christian from Theme Park Horizons. Now, granted, this theme park is, or this restaurant is one of the most well-known in all of, like, the theme park industry. It's been voted as, like, the best one previously. Food-wise, I don't think it's the best restaurant in, like, a theme park. Like the world's best theme park restaurant. I don't think it's that level if you just consider the food. But, I mean, the atmosphere, I mean, that building is amazing. And the food is quite good. I did have a sort of It was like this grilled cheese sandwich with like bacon bits and like and the red sauce. It was and like little crisps on top of it. It was really good. Definitely like one of the better meals I've had at a theme park. It just wasn't like my favorite in terms of food. I think would be Aunt Granny's, and I don't think this beat it, but it is a really good restaurant and definitely one I would recommend going to if you're at Universal, especially because we don't really know what the future is with the Lost Continent. So it's definitely one that I would recommend to go to for sure. Let's see. From the trip, favorite park overall, I'm gonna go with Islands of Adventure, like very easily. My picks are, I guess, to rank parks. I can just do it right off the bat. It would go 5 Fun Spot Kissimmee, which that's it's I'm trying to think of what to say about that park. It's an interesting park, I'll just say for now. Fun Spot Orlando at 4, very fun, and had a neat atmosphere with the night at night with the lights, and had some pretty cool stuff there. SeaWorld Orlando at 3 was a very enjoyable park. I love the the plants and the landscaping is like super good there. So it's actually a very nice looking park. It's just the ride collection is relatively small, so that's kind of what holds it back. And then you have Universal Studios Florida 2, and which was a cool park. I do think they need a true like elite attraction because they don't currently have that. Studios and SeaWorld, honestly, it's like pretty close between the two. I might even have to still think about that one, but I think I'm gonna roll with Studios at 2, just by a smidge. And then Islands of Adventure is 1. Like it's definitely like top 4 theme park I've ever been to. So I mean, it's phenomenal. Operations are amazing. The ride lineup is insane. So much variety and really something for everybody. You got great dark rides. You have great coasters. I mean, you got like pretty much everything there. Even a drop tower that I think is actually really underrated and gets like way too much hate. With Dr. Doom Fearfall, there's a lot of variety. There's a lot of good rides there. So theming is amazing, especially in certain sections. I mean, the Lost Continent, even though they don't really have much, I mean, that area looks so beautiful. Absolutely stunning. Obviously, Velocicoaster itself, and really, I vibe with the Jurassic Park area. I think it's got some cool stuff. Camp Jurassic, as I mentioned, a really cool kids area. That thanks to Christian for being a great guide, kind of showed me that. That's probably something I would have completely missed out on, just walking through that. And then, obviously, you have Hogsmeade, which is incredible. So, yeah, there's so much to love about Islands of Adventure for sure. So yeah, if you're asking me to rank them individually, like Islands for Operations, yeah, I'd give Operations to Islands. Food, I'd also give the Islands, and all of those I'd give the Islands. Like pretty easily. So I guess Studios you could argue for Operations, although there's like less rides where you can kind of fully see that, if that makes sense. So Mythos is above your budget. That's fair. It is pretty pricey, but I mean, like I said, especially because it's something that might end up biting the dust or at least being significantly changed, I would definitely check it out while it's still around. Oh yeah, no, I mean, Fun Spot Orlando was quite fun. I mean, yeah, I guess that's an easy thing to say, but Fun Spot Orlando is pretty fun. Fun Spot Kissimmee, it just did not have great vibes. I was only there for like 30 minutes. I rode Mind Blower and Hurricane, and I'll answer about Mind Blower. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of a spontaneous thing to go there. Basically, I went. I was at Universal Orlando while Christian was working, and then before taking me to the airport so I could come back to Fresno, we had a little bit of time left to sort of do something. And so it's like, well, Fun Spot Kissimmee, let's do that. So literally we're there for like 30 minutes and then went to the airport. So I didn't have like, but even like just being there, you could just tell Orlando seemed to be the better Fun Spot park. But I will say, I will talk about Mind Blower. I am a fan, but, and actually I should preface this as well. I wrote it like I think a day or two after it reopened. From there was a recent maintenance thing they did where they basically, I guess, worked to fix the steel to wood transitions, which I heard are much improved when I wrote it. So I didn't think the transitions from wood to steel were too bad. That being said, most of the wooden sections are horribly rough, but I think the trains, they absorb the shock well, so it's not like it doesn't ruin the ride. It's still a really fun ride. I mean, the ride still absolutely hauls, and I mean, I imagine with the steel track, that helps out quite a bit. I mean, the ride's layout and pacing is insane. I mean, it is just like, I only got to ride it once. I do kind of wish I got to ride it a few more times, or at least another time. And my one ride was in the back row, because I mean, it just like, you just whiz through the layout like so fast. At points are like trying to catch up with what's going on. But I mean, it's from a layout standpoint, it's awesome, and I do enjoy it for that reason. But the wooden sections are just horribly rough. I mean, that thing, it's kind of, I could see a world where if they could like put the pre-cut track on it and it worked, I think that would be the best case scenario. That doesn't seem realistic at this point in time, so I imagine retracking most of it to the new RMC 208 retrack. That's going to be the best way to go. But yeah, I definitely still was a fan of it. It's just the wooden sections are horribly rough. But even then, still was fun. Like, I was just laughing as we were jackhammering through some of the wooden sections. I mean, it is pretty funny. So, but yeah, it definitely could be better. But I still like it. I would consider it a great ride. I would. I still would consider it. I think it's in my top 40 overall, so, and I have it above quite a few other wooden coasters, including ones that I quite enjoy, so, yeah, that's my thoughts on there. So, would I come back to Florida and hit up Busch Gardens, Tampa, or some of the Disney parks? So, yeah, definitely, I will. Hopefully, honestly, those are parks I imagine I will hopefully hit in the next 2 years. Reason I didn't hit either of those was because I was in Orlando for an event mainly, and so the parks I got to go to, Universal was like something I completely did like on the side before the event. Same with Fun Spot Kissimmee, except that was after. And then through the event, I was able to go to SeaWorld Orlando and Fun Spot Orlando. So that's kind of what happened there. I decided to skip out on the Disney parks because I wanted to focus on Universal, especially with Horror Nights. And Busch Gardens Tampa is just pretty far out of the way. So I think that one kind of explains itself. But yes, I definitely will be going back to Florida to doing those. Definitely. I will do Busch Gardens. Like, I'm going to be back there. I know it. Like I said, like, probably a few times within the next few years is very likely. So the fact that I missed Busch Gardens Tampa on this trip is not really something I'm concerned over. So you say that Mind Blower, you did it first in 2017 or 18, and it was awesome. Last year was a one and done. Yeah, I've heard it's, especially before RMC came in, it was just so brutal. So at least with RMC, there's some sections that have been fixed up. So, there is that. Yeah, I have heard of the free bus from like Orlando to Busch Gardens, Tampa. It's good that like such an option exists. That just was not something that was doable for this specific trip. I was on very limited time. I mean, the fact that I was able to fit in like Fun Spot Kissimmee and do 2 days at Universal was like the fact that I was able to fit in 5 parks in like how many days was I realistically there? Like 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess basically 5 days. So like yeah, that was realistically that all that was going to be able to work out. So but I'm very happy with how the trip went. But yes, I have to go to Busch Gardens, Tampa. Got to ride the greatest roller coaster in the world, Air Grover, as Stamford Bridge mentions. And yeah, so I mean, there you go. So yep, that's pretty much that. That's going to be our first Q&A. If you have any other questions, you can let me know later when we do the next Q&A segment. And I'll be headed next into the news, which is a pretty loaded segment. Got a lot to catch up on. And before we go into it, I will mention that I do have an openings, closures, and construction update segment for this episode. But due to time constraints before this, I've been quite busy. It looks quite a bit different. Took a little bit of a lazy route, to be honest. But this just kind of lists all the rides that have either opened or are going to open in the future. So here are your ride openings that are coming soon. So here we have listed, let's see here. So we have the Pinfari Zyklon at Lakeside Amusement Park. We still don't even know what it's named, which is crazy, but that opened. Oriental Heritage Yingtan, which has a hyperspace warp, has opened. Probably the most well-known one, Primordial at Lagoon, has finally opened to the public. Very interesting ride system. In general, I did see a POV of it like a few weeks ago and was quite intrigued. Seems to be a very interesting concept and coaster. So that was certainly interesting to see, and I'm happy to see that that finally opened. I mean, crazy year. We have Mission, Ferrari, and Primordial opening in the same year. That is just crazy. You also have Rookie Racer at Six Flags St. Louis that opened to the public kind of quietly. And then you have Rudy's Railroad, which is like a junior train ride, along with Road Trip Roller Coaster at Yesterland Farm in Texas. The coaster is now in Herschel, Little Dipper, and is actually the second one this park has. For some reason, they have 2 of them now, which is very strange, but that is wild. Primordial was over $100 million in budget. I had no idea. That is insane. That is actually crazy. I didn't know it was that much, but wow. It looks like a pretty neat ride. I just would not have guessed it was that much. That is wild. Next, we have our permanent closures and delays and sales. Very loaded list here. So we have Alpine Bobsled at Six Flags Great America, or not Great America, Great Escape. Closed for good early in September. So obviously being replaced by Bobcat. You have Rock and Roll and Cliffhanger, 2 flat rides at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, sort of Matterhorn type and sort of flyer Zamperla, like sort of kite flyer type flat ride. Those have been removed. Power surge at Knoebels, it has been confirmed that it has operated for the last time. Not to worry though, as you'll see later. Tidal Twister at SeaWorld San Diego, it appears is actually confirmed to be closing. It's been removed from the website and the map. There's been a few like kind of back and forths with it, so we'll see if this is actually the final call, but seemingly it is done for. Viking River Splash, a rapids ride at Legoland Windsor in the UK, that is closed for good. Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser has closed for good after a little over a year of operation. Just very wild. Only thing you can really hope for there is with all the money they spend and all the new technology and things that they put in, hopefully they can apply some of those technologies and experiences to other upcoming attractions and experiences. And then you have Safari Trek at Legoland California, an original opening year ride, has also closed for good. Speaking of Legoland, we also have Fairy Tale Brook. It's located right next to it. It'll be closing for good in like October. Seems to be that that area is going to become a new land and probably will get a new major attraction of some sort. Fingers crossed for a roller coaster because they could really use one, and there's been some exciting stuff with the overseas Legoland parks. You also have Rudy's Rapid Transit at Santa's Village in New Hampshire, which is the Zero Tivoli coaster that's closing on October 15th to be replaced by a Vekoma Junior coaster, new generation. And you also have Carousel at Oaks Park Mall in Kansas that is closing for good on October 15th. The Antique Ride, Antique Cars at Parc Astérix is closing on November 5th. And then probably one of the shockers is Wild Train at Fantasiana is going to be closing for good in October of 2024. We'll get to a little bit more of that in a later portion here. Some ride sales we have going on. Uncle Bernie's, the entire ride collection has been put up for sale, so they haven't confirmed they're closing for good yet, but that may very well be happening. So I have it listed here, but with a question mark until we know more of what's going on. And Alan Herschel Little Dipper, owned by Tommy Bowers, is on sale for anyone who wants to buy it. I guess here's your option for your backyard coaster if you want one. Cyclone at Nico Park, which is a wooden coaster in India, is also been put up for sale. And Up and Overboard, which is at Funplex Myrtle Beach, this is an inverting SBF Visa flat ride, is also on sale. Hossoland in Poland, an upcoming park with some really ambitious attractions and themed areas. Looks like it will be delayed beyond 2024. It was originally supposed to open in 2024, but unsurprisingly, given the ambitions of that park, it looks like it's going to be delayed beyond that. So there are your permanent closures, your construction updates. Kid Flash at Six Flags Over Georgia, track work has been completed. The Vekoma STC and Family Boomerang in Emerald Park has been topped off. Well, the STC has been topped off. The Family Boomerang has gone vertical. The Zamperla Lightning Coaster, which is a Thunderbolt layout, going to Dinosaur DreamWorks in China, has gone vertical. Ravine Flyer 2 at Waldemere is receiving some significant retracking. Kid Flash Cosmic Coaster at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Just realized I don't know why I did initials for Fiesta Texas and not over Georgia, but that coaster's testing should be opening relatively soon here, actually, which is really exciting. Peony Playland Zamperla LSM Coaster, that is vertical. Palindrome at Kodoland, construction has begun, which is big news because, I mean, that thing has kind of been in limbo for a little bit, so it's great to see that construction has begun there. Hyperia at Thorpe Park, track is on site, and that is, of course, the Mach Hyper Coaster. Verrücktwarts at Rossiland, which is the shuttle family coaster going to that park in Germany. The track work has been complete. Good Gravy at Holiday World, track is soon to be shipped. This is the picture they sent. You can also look in the background, and there's actually a Vekoma suspended dark ride prototype just chilling there. So Holiday World accidentally leaked that. So if you want to take a look at that picture, it's on like Facebook, Twitter. You can zoom in and very clearly make out the prototype for the new Vekoma suspended dark ride model. And then you have Jungle Adventure at Happy Valley Shenzhen, which is their family launch spinning coaster from Jinma Rides. Track work has been completed there. So that is the construction updates. And now we head on to our general sort of announcements and news. So Grand Texas Theme Park, which was a park that was announced a while back, being built by the owners of Big Rivers Water Park. This park is near Houston. It's still being planned, but it's going to be built as an FEC. They're targeting a 2025 opening. So for anyone following this project, that's kind of what's going on there. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But there has been, I think, a lot of sort of questions with what was going to happen with this park. So we get a little more clarity there. We got a few bits of Drayton Manor news. So Drayton Manor in the UK, Shockwave, their stand-up coaster from Intamin, will be renamed, and it will receive sit-down trains for 2024, which has had a mixed reception. Some people are a fan of the change, some people are not so much. And their rumored Intamin lift and launch coaster that is coming next year may be a spinning coaster, as based off the supports and label on one of the boxes, it mentioned a spinning coaster from Intamin. So that is definitely interesting, something to keep an eye on there for sure. Next, we have a park that you may not have heard about. New park coming in Slovakia. This would be the largest theme park in Slovakia as of right now. Plans have been proposed and they've been released, which is nice to see. Concept art and descriptions show a B&M wing coaster that would be a Swarm clone. And they also mentioned that a few other coasters would get built. So another park that is probably a good ways away from happening, but we'll see what materializes here. Wildcat at Lake Compounce will receive a Gravity Group overhaul for 2024. This one happened a long while ago, but was a bit of a surprise considering we had Titan track for Boulder Dash, but they decided to go with the Gravity Group prefabricated track for Wildcat. So it will withhold its wooden integrity. And hopefully this will be the thing that sort of breaks the curse for Wildcat, as they've tried so many things with it and nothing can fix it. Hopefully Gravity Group can make their magic happen and fix this ride once and for all. Wallaby Roan Alps has unveiled the name for their 2024 Hot Racer coaster, which is Mahuka. Really cool looking. I mean, based off the concept art, looks like it's going to have some great theming. So definitely looks like a really nice addition for the park. And a very unique name. I should have looked into if there was a meaning behind the name. There probably is. So I should have looked into that, but it looks really neat. So also got to get some of this concept art with that name reveal. So some good stuff there from Wallaby. And then we also have, I didn't put a thing for this one, so hold on, I'm gonna be putting this in real quick. Accidentally forgot a banner, so let me add that real quick. Alrighty, so we have this one, which is a park in Germany. Edelweiss in Germany, small family park, will be receiving a new roller coaster and drop tower for 2024. Details are very scarce, but if you're planning to be anywhere near this park in the near future, might be something to keep an eye on. Probably something a little more family oriented, but interesting to see. Park that I was not at all familiar with beforehand. They have a few, I believe they do have a family coaster already, so good to see them getting a new investment like this. And then we have our Disney parks and D23 announcements. Some of these were made at D23, some of these are things that came afterwards. So For D23, Ahsoka planets and scenes are going to be added to Star Tours. That was confirmed. The ride vehicle has been unveiled for the upcoming Avengers attraction at Disney California Adventure. And then you have Test Track 3.0, as I'm going to call it. That is coming to Epcot in the future. They haven't specified, but a new reimagined version of Test Track is coming. And then Soarin' over California has temporarily returned for the first time since 2016 to Epcot. So those are some of the announcements, but we have a little more. These are sort of the blue sky concepts. You have Dinoland USA at Disneyland, not Disneyland, at Disney Animal Kingdom. That is planned to be replaced with a Tropical Americas area that may utilize Indiana Jones and Encanto for theming and attractions. Though this could all change, this is something that's still very much in the air. And similarly to that, we have some information relating to what is being considered for Disneyland Forward, which would be the expansion of the Disneyland California Resort. Supposedly, or not even supposedly, it's was mentioned by Josh D'Amaro that Frozen, Coco, and Black Panther have been mentioned as IPs that could be used for Disneyland Forward. So we'll have to see how and if any of this materializes, but should be interesting, especially for Disneyland, seeing if Disneyland Forward is something that is able to work out. I hope it is. And I definitely would be very intrigued to see, because it would be like Wakanda, like a themed area. I'm sure that would look absolutely amazing if they put all their work into it. That would be awesome to see. And I would like to see also, like, Coco's another movie that I really like, so that'd be very interesting to see what they're able to do there, for sure. Next, we have the 2023 Golden Ticket Award winners. Won't go through all of them because there's a lot, but you can go on the website if you haven't seen the winners. But some of the more notable ones that are not like repeats or super often repeats. Best water park ride went to Mammoth at Holiday World. It hadn't won it for like a few years, so very happy to see it finally, or not like finally, but like rise back to the top, I guess. That's my all-time favorite water park ride, so I love to see it. Let's see what else there is. So we also had Big Bear Mountain win the first ever Best Family Coaster. We also had Dollywood winning Best Park for the first time ever. May have been a little biased since they were literally holding the Golden Ticket Awards, but I can see an argument like how it could be made for Dollywood being Best Park. Wouldn't be my personal pick, but I would say in a way certainly deserving of it. And speaking of Dollywood, they won like, I think it was either 5 or 6 of these awards, which is like the most of any park ever. So that's certainly something. Best Innovation went to the RMC 208 Retrack. Best New Attraction Installation went to Airy Force 1, though Best New Coaster went to Wildcat's Revenge. That stirred up a whole argument. I think Best New Attraction is like for any attraction in general, so if you want to argue which one got the more prestigious award, I would argue it'd be Airy Force 1. And Wildcat's Revenge getting Best New Coaster is kind of like a runner-up sort of thing. That's kind of how I saw it. And, of course, you have kind of the one that I think a lot of people were talking about was Fury 325 winning Best Steel Coaster again. Now, I don't know when Golden Ticket Awards, when the voting starts, so it's very possible that the voting started before, obviously, the whole situation with the support and everything happened. But it kind of felt like if any year was going to be the year Fury was going to be dethroned, this was going to be it. And it didn't happen, basically. It would have been fun to see, but I've heard really good things about Fury, and I think another theory I've kind of had with the it winning Best Steel Coaster is that maybe like Iron Gwazi or Steel Vengeance or Velocicoaster would seemingly be more popular like picks of being like ranked higher than Fury, but like they kind of cannibalize each other. in a sense, for like people voting for the award. And so perhaps that's how Fury is able to get it. But those are your golden ticket awards. If you want to look at all of them, you can go on the website. They have all that already announced, but that is pretty much that. Next, we have Portaventura. It was mentioned in an article, like pretty much confirmed, that the current owners are indeed looking to sell the resort for about 1 billion euros. This is something that, like, we had kind of heard about, like, kind of rumors and stuff, and was known. So to finally have some sources actually, like, report on it was good to see. So we'll have to kind of monitor the future of this park. Obviously, a lot of people are rooting for Universal to retake over, but it is still to be determined what the future of the resort is. So we'll kind of wait and see how that goes. But certainly, it's an amazing resort, but the ride operations is definitely the thing that needs the most sort of change. So whoever comes in and gets it, whenever the owners are able to sell it, hopefully they can improve upon that aspect while also keeping the park as is, because like in terms of how beautiful it looks and everything with the theme it has, because I mean it's a pretty amazing park. So in that regard, so like I said, something to keep an eye on for sure. And then we have Lightning Rod. So most of you have heard about this by now, but it will remove its launch and receive a fast chain lift for 2024. October 30th is the final day of the launch. Honestly, you could kind of see the writing on the wall with this one. They had tried so many things and nothing was working, so I understand how they came to this decision. Obviously, it's going to be disappointing, but I can respect it, because if the ride is operational for like 90+% of the time, that's going to be worth it over having the launch. So as long as it goes well, I approve. We just kind of have to see how this goes, but hopefully this is what ends up working. Next, we have IAAPA Europe. The expo just happened recently, and there were multiple new flat rides announced and just attractions sort of in general. So on the top left, you can see Sunkid. They announced their new 4-vehicle Sundancer Galaxy model family flat ride. SimWorks has unveiled a new Zombie Metro Mayhem dark ride concept that you can see on the top right. Zamperla has unveiled a new Go-Go Bounce 8.4 flat ride, which is a next-gen jump around, another family flat ride that looks quite like sort of tight together, so it definitely looks very interesting visually. And then you have the Sunseeker flat ride that Ride Engineer Switzerland just announced. I'm not 100% sure if it's associated with the Mark Rides one, because they literally announced the ride model that's very similar to this one. I don't know if they're working together, and that's what this is. That's like been the kind of the assumption that I've seen online, but regardless, pretty interesting looking flat ride, especially based off the concept art and animation. And then you have Martin and Fleming's. They have rebranded to MV Rides, which you can see here right in the middle. So that is part of the news, but that is not all. We have Hoos Rides. They have unveiled multiple new generation flat rides, including the Troika 2G, the Magic 2G. So the Troika is going to be on the bottom right. The bottom left is going to be the Magic 2G. The Booster Revolution is going to be on the top left, and then you have the Spinning Cruiser on the top right, along with the multimedia shot and drop tower in the middle there. Some very interesting looking flat rides, especially that drop tower with the uses of media and projections. That definitely seems very interesting. But Who's Attractions, they are definitely reinventing a lot of rides, so if you're in the flat rides, definitely seems like there's some interesting stuff going on there with Who's Rides. So there's that. But that is not all. We have even more somehow, this relating to coasters. So Wiener Prater in Austria has sold Vienna Looping, the Mock Ride's Big Dipper coaster, to an undisclosed buyer as they remain in a legal battle, but still plan to eventually get their new coaster. However, notice how I said undisclosed buyer. There was a lot of talk that the mock Big Dipper that went to Fantasiana was actually this one. It is a custom layout. It's not like the one that we've seen here. So that is not the one that they're getting. So we actually don't know where this specific one is going. So that is still to be determined. We also have Tier und Freizeitpark Tool in Germany. They will receive an Art Engineering family coaster in 2025. Art Engineering continues to build new family coasters. They seem to be on the rise in that regard. And here we have another one. It's unknown if it'll just be a lift hill or a launch, but good to see another one of these coasters or another one of these family coasters from Art Engineering. And then we have Family Park in Austria. Park to potentially keep an eye on. They apparently mentioned that there are plans to expand the park to the unused large field behind the park. This is a park owned by company des Alpes, which owns the Wallaby Parks. They already have 4 coasters, all family oriented. They just got an Intamin log flume last year, I believe. That was a new gen one. Has like sort of even, I think, like an airtime hill in the middle of the layout, and an elevator lift, so very new technology. And this is definitely a park that to keep an eye on if they're able to get their expansion plans going. Would not be surprised if they get a very unique coaster of some sort, whether that's family oriented or not. So wanted to mention that. And that is pretty much it for IAAPA Expo Europe. Seem to be quite busy with a lot of stuff happening. And of course, hopefully some even more exciting projects will be coming in the future from that event. So that is definitely pretty exciting. Next, we have 7 Yanbu in Saudi Arabia. They have unveiled this park, which will feature an indoor, it's an entire facility that will feature an indoor theme park with flat rides and an SBF Visa hamster wheel coaster, as you can see here. Theming looks quite interesting based off the concept art. This is the same chain that supposedly is getting the Axis coasters, though this park in particular doesn't appear to be one of the ones that's getting it. So that is something to note there. We have this, which was actually pretty surprising. Not like super crazy news because it's just looking into it, but Conneaut Lake Park is looking into adding a Wild Mouse coaster and or a Scrambler. So this is how we know. They just replied to somebody and said that they're looking into it. Pretty basic, but a little bit surprising for a park that seemed to be on the decline. Now is kind of it seems to be in a weird spot in terms of what they want to do with it. But I mean, definitely will take this over what sort of the original plans were. So at least we have that. Next, we have Knoebels. I referenced this earlier. So they are removing Power Surge, but they are replacing it with a Zamperla version in March of 2024. Good to see. This is like a super iconic ride for Knoebels. I feel like outside of the coasters, this is one of the most photographed flat rides at the park. So definitely good to see that they are keeping this attraction by getting a new one from Zamperla. So that I definitely do like to see. Next, we have RMC. They have listed 3 new Raptors coming soon on their website. And actually, I'm going to get rid of the banner. So you can see the 3 of them here. You can actually access this right now, like on the website if you wanted to. But which has created a lot of speculation and interest online. So there's a custom Raptor that's coming to an international park, a seemingly cloned Raptor that's coming to an international park, and a cloned Raptor coming to the United States. So I think pretty much the general speculation is that the Wallaby Holland dueling Raptors accounts for both the international ones. So the custom family one would be the one that's on the left, and the one in the middle would be the more thrilling one. There's been a little bit of argument there, though, because some people are like, would the dueling Raptors count as 1 or 2 Raptors on here? So maybe The custom one is Wallaby Hall, and it just counts both of those, and the international one is something else. But there's been speculation there, and the U.S. one is very interesting because we really don't know where that one would be going, especially because I think the South Dakota project seems to be quite dead at this point. So that one is definitely the one that seems to be the most unknown. There's been a lot of speculation there. I have a few picks that I have for that Raptor that I might get into a little bit later, but I have a few parks that I think it could be going to. Next, we have Fantasiana, as we mentioned earlier. They will remove Wild Train in 2024 for a 2025 custom Mock Rides Big Dipper. And I mean, definitely seems like a good addition for the park. Like the Mock Rides Big Dipper, probably a better quality coaster overall than Wild Train. So I can definitely understand why they went with this ride. And it makes probably just a lot of financial and logistical sense for them. But I mean, Wild Train, I've never gotten to ride it, but I mean, it looks so insane, so wild, I guess pun intended. So it is kind of unfortunate that it does have to bite to dust. I doubted it would get relocated, but maybe somewhere within Europe it would. That would be like kind of the one hope there because it does look so insane. But I mean, a Mock Rides Big Dipper is a pretty exciting sort of coaster to get. So definitely can, I'm curious to see more of what this ride project has in store. So that is pretty much that there. And we're getting to our, the latter sort of this segment. So we have our SeaWorld 2024 announcements. Busch Gardens Williamsburg, they're going to be doing an extensive Loch Ness Monster renovation that includes over 900 feet of replaced track, an upgraded queue, and new theming elements both within the queue and supposedly on ride. Not a whole lot of details there, but very interesting for sure. SeaWorld Orlando has unveiled Penguin Trek, a family launch coaster, unofficially from B&M that will replace the Empire of the Penguin Dark Ride that is coming in 2024. I actually got to see the construction site basically when I was walking around the park during the day on Sunday, and didn't really see a whole lot of hints of like, you know, coaster track and whatnot, but definitely was very busy. That was a few days before they announced the coaster actually, so yeah, definitely should be a great fit for SeaWorld Orlando. Definitely a perfect ride for them there. SeaWorld San Diego, they are getting a Jewels of the Sea aquarium exhibit for 2024, speculated to be replacing the Submarine Quest Dark Ride that was closed a few years ago. And then we have Phoenix Rising, a B&M family invert with onboard audio that will be replacing Phoenix and Sand Serpent, which is coming to Busch Gardens Tampa in 2024. In addition, you also have SeaWorld San Antonio, that has specified a spring 2024 opening for Catapult Falls. We already knew it was delayed, but I guess we get a little more specifics in terms of when it's opening. And then Force Coaster parts have apparently been shipped to the park, which is speculated to be for maybe track replacement or something related to their Super Grover's Boxcar Derby. But that was kind of interesting and something that had come out. Next we have is Jers Summerland, which will receive a 196 foot tall drop tower for 2024. Here is we don't know the manufacturer, but this is their thumbnail from the video they announced it, so speculate away. But that is coming in 2024, and they already, I think I mentioned earlier, had an April 27th, 2024 opening date targeted for that. Next, we have Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. They have announced Dream Wheel, which is a Chance Rides Ferris wheel, along with Surge, a Chance Freestyle flat ride, coming in 2024. That's going to be replacing Rock and Roll and Cliffhanger. The Ferris wheel is a much-needed addition. Santa Cruz had one that was like 60 years old that closed, I believe, in 2018, so getting a new Ferris wheel is definitely much needed, a park that definitely deserves one. And Surge should serve as a pretty good flat ride here. So definitely nice to see, especially in a year where they're celebrating Giant Tipper's 100th anniversary. They didn't need to do anything, but it is definitely welcome additions to get these 2 rides for 2024. So definitely happy to see that. And there's the banner. I forgot to change it there, but that is what is happening with Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Paulton's Park in the UK is looking for a construction project manager for a new themed area, rides, and projects, costing upwards of 15 million British pounds, which seems to be mostly for a new themed area, which is pretty exciting because Tornado Springs, for reference, was listed as 12 million pounds. So seems like whatever they're doing there, there's some potentially high potential there. This is a park that has been growing quite a bit over the last few years and seems to be on pace to be doing even more. So definitely intriguing there. Next, we have Yomiuriland in one of the weirder news of the episode. They are adding a 197-foot tall Ferris wheel for their 60th anniversary in 2024. Now, you may be asking yourself if you've ever been to the park, or perhaps you've at least seen pictures of it. Wait, don't they already have a Ferris wheel? And the answer is yes. And you might be thinking, oh, they might be replacing the Ferris wheel. No, that is not what's happening. It apparently will be located not too far from their already existing Ferris wheel of the same height that is going to stay around. So they're just going to have 2 of these now, which very peculiar move. This is a park that on its 50th anniversary did get Twist Coaster Robin, so hopefully this ends up working out a little better than that. Very strange move, just in general, but I mean, I guess if the Ferris wheel is like that popular, I guess it works out. Maybe there's a plan to get rid of the other one at some point in the future, and this is like in a better spot. Like, we'll see. It is a very interesting addition. There probably is some reasoning behind it that is not like super clear right now, but very strange for sure. But I mean, they are getting a pretty massive addition for their 60th anniversary, pretty large Ferris wheel, so you do have that at least. Next, you have Thorpe Park. They have announced the name of their 2024 mock hyper, which I mentioned earlier, which is Hyperia. A lot of sort of argument online between if this was better between this and Exodus. Personally, my take on the name is that I think Exodus sounded cooler. It was more unique. But I think once it opens, Hyperia will like sort of take off, and it'll be a good name for the coaster. And I think we'll kind of forget all about the argument with it kind of once it opens, because I do think the coaster looks really good. Even though the name is very similar to Hyperion, I will say that. But that is like the one thing. But for most people who live in the UK and are looking to go to Thorpe Park, that's not really going to be something that's on their mind. So I think the name works, and we will. I'm just very excited for this coaster in general. So there we have it there. Next, we're going to go into our last part, which is our rumor mill segment. We have a huge rumor mill segment, so I did actually decide I'm going to have this put up just so if I talk about rumors and potential leaks that, you know, you can like skip this if you're watching afterwards, or if you're watching now. If you don't want to like see stuff, I'll give the warning. So that is that. But with that being said, I will be going into the rumors in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, here's our first one. This one has been pretty well documented already, but renderings for a B&M wing coaster likely launched for King's Dominion may have leaked. You can find the pictures on Reddit or forums or wherever. It's been posted in a lot of places. Yes, there are these pictures of supposed renderings that were supposedly made by I think it was like TRA or something. They looked pretty legit. I do believe that this is a real leak, and I do believe that we will be seeing a B&M wing coaster for King's Dominion. That likely will come in 2025, especially if it's a launched wing. I think that's a good addition. I think a launched wing makes a ton of sense, especially kind of looking at the, especially if they do something kind of like with the concept art for Canada's Wonderland. I think they could do something that's pretty neat. So maybe not my first pick in terms of what I would have replaced Volcano with, but I think a sensible one, and one that could work out very nicely for King's Dominion. Next, we have another one, which is from Six Flags Over Texas. This one I would say is basically the most confirmed out of all of these. So El Rio Lento, which is coming in 2024. This was the expansion and combination of the two El Aserradero log flumes at Over Texas. It appears that this project has been canceled, supposedly due to engineering concerns, and upgrades will be made to improve both flumes individually instead. The first rumor kind of came from Screamscape, and then there was clarification from an insider from Texas Thrill Seekers, which is a Facebook group page. So it sounds like they're going to upgrade the two log flumes separately, but they're not like going to combine them and do this crazy project. The other thing that kind of points to this happening is that the El Rio Lento webpage has been completely removed from Six Flags Over Texas's website, and the posts on Instagram and Facebook have been completely removed as well. So that seems to be what has happened. Like I said, I think out of all the ones here, this is like pretty much like, yeah, we can expect this to actually happen. One thing we can't expect for sure to actually happen is that Six Flags Magic Mountain is supposedly planning a 2025 coaster, with Vekoma being the rumored manufacturer. This is a complete Screamscape rumor. Sort of actually, there has been reports and videos showing that there is actually some work going on by Golden Bear Theater, which is where this coaster will supposedly go. There is some work going on there, though there's been argument whether that's actually for a new ride or not, but there is stuff going on there. And there's still rumors that this could be the mythical sort of Hyper or Giga coaster, but other rumors are indicating that Vekoma will be the manufacturer of this coaster. I'm going to continue to be quite skeptical of this until we see something a little more concrete with what they're doing over by the Golden Bear Theater. But I would be very excited to see a new coaster for Magic Mountain, especially from Vekoma. I think that'd be sick to see. My more sort of realistic picks there would be hopefully maybe a tilt coaster. I've been saying that. I think that would be an excellent fit at Magic Mountain. I mean, I've been literally talking about that for it feels like years now. So if that was it, I could definitely rock with that. Or even like a looping coaster could also work as well. But I feel like the tilt coaster would have a lot more marketing power. So I think that's kind of what I'd go with there. Now, if we got a Vekoma Hyper or Giga somehow, by some miracle, I mean, that would be absolutely awesome. But I'm not, I think that's a little insane. I mean, I'm still very skeptical of this whole thing, but we'll kind of see what plays out. Curiously enough, the other rumors also relate to SoCal Parks. This one relates to Knott's Berry Farm. So this one, I don't believe really at all. This also comes from Screamscape. So there's been issues with Montezuma, like work has mostly stalled from my understanding. And so rumor goes is that Montezuma, it's not going to be returning. It's just dead. And it will be replaced apparently by a new Zamperla multi-launch coaster by 2025. Stated specifically at the earliest, but that's what's mentioned. It also mentions that a Ghost Town expansion with a few flat rides and a mid-level coaster is in the pipeline as well. The full rumor is like really weird and convoluted. You can like look on Screamscape. I just don't really believe it for a lot of reasons. The rumor basically goes that the way that projects were supposed to go, it was Knott's was going to get Fiesta Village and Montezuma for 2023, Camp Snoopy for 2024, which, I mean, obviously that's happening because they're going to announce whatever is going on next month. And then in 2025, they would get this Ghost Town expansion, but supposedly things have been completely shifted around according to this rumor because of what's going on with Montezuma. Now, I will admit it's very concerning what's going on with Montezuma, but I don't think there's any way, like, work stalled, like, has been stalled for like a few months. That's not enough time to have decided that, oh yeah, we're going to get this type of coaster, it's going to go in this plot of land, and we're going to open it by 2025. Things don't move that fast, so, and especially like the ride's still up, this thing is just kind of crazy. In terms of believing it, I really don't. I'd be very shocked if this happened. I have like very little faith in this. I think this rumor is complete bogus. So that's my kind of take on it. But a very weird one. I don't think it's going to age well, but we'll see. And then we have SeaWorld San Diego. Also has a rumor. This is our last one. So supposedly, also from this is also from Screamscape, by the way. They are planning their next large-scale coaster for either 2025 or 2026. And it is rumored to either be a launched B&M wing coaster, which is actually what the source was leaning more towards, that claiming that that's actually seemingly more likely what it's going to be, or a B&M wing or a B&M surf coaster. Personally, I think the surf coaster is like a perfect fit for SeaWorld San Diego. Launched wing would also make a lot of sense, but like the surf coaster just kind of feels perfect. It's like surfing, California. It's a airtime based coaster. SeaWorld San Diego could definitely use that. I think that makes a lot more sense for the park than, say, a launched wing coaster. Not to say a launched wing coaster would be a bad fit. In fact, I definitely would be a good one. But that would definitely be surprising if they did pick a launched wing over a surf coaster. I would be a bit surprised if that's actually what happened. Either way, both would be good fits. This is one of those rumors, though, that it's like, it feels, it's like it's believable, but that also makes it something that is like kind of easy to BS. So another one that we'll keep an eye on it, but I need to see like some work on the ground or something before I buy too much into it, really. So that is pretty much it for the news. A huge segment. So thanks, like that went for like probably 40 plus minutes. So thanks to everyone for checking that out. And then we're going to move on to our next segment, which is going to be, let's see. I guess we can do quiz. Yeah, we'll do the quiz next. So pretty much how this works, we're going to do it as always through Google Slides. Thanks once again to Frontier Coasters for making this really, I mean, like I of course like check on it and I like maybe tweak a few things, but he's the one who mostly creates these quizzes at this point. I will say this one did look pretty tough, so I will give a warning. This one looked very tough, to be honest. But we'll see how you all do. Of course, as always, no using Google RCDB or ChatGPT for this quiz, so we'll roll right into it. And I need to pull out the timer as well, so let me do that. But with that being said, we'll go into our first question, which is, which Zero Coaster type has more than one operating? So out of these models, which is there more than one operating? So I have gone through the timer, or like I've started the timer, I haven't gone through it. Guess away in the chat. I'm going to have to go look back through the news stuff because there's like a lot of stuff I probably missed out on in terms of observations and whatnot. Wow, everyone is going with the same answer here. So we're already going off on that on that route. So we'll see if it pays off. But yep, that strategy is returned. And it kind of always seems to go that way. And there's the timer. Wow, that is loud. I don't know. I think I have the ringer off, but that's... yeah, hopefully that works. Anyways, the correct answer is actually C. It's their Hornet. The Force 3 is actually Super Boxcar Derby at SeaWorld Orlando. That is only a 1 of 1. There's only one of those. There's plenty of Force 1s and Force 2s, but the Force 3 is actually like there's only one. So, yeah, the Hornet is the correct answer. There are 2 of those. So, and I did get to do that Force 3 actually. So, all right, kiddie coaster. It has one kind of nasty transition for a kiddie coaster, but it's fine otherwise. We'll move on to our next question, which is, which of these relocated wooden coasters is the tallest? So, and I don't even have to update the scoreboard because literally no one got it right for that other one. So, which relocated wooden coaster is the tallest? I actually started the timer late, so anyone who wants to guess, you have a little bit of extra time actually. So, like I said, which of these is the tallest? Okay, so this one we actually have different answers. Alrighty. Okay. So the plan has somewhat gone out the window, though there is one answer that has remained relatively consistent. So we'll see if that pays off. If you haven't submitted your answer yet, you still have a few more seconds. About 10 seconds, though probably less than that given delay, but you know what I mean. And the time has run out. So the correct answer to this one is D, Wild One at Six Flags America. So nobody got that right either. So I was definitely right about I was definitely right about this one being very difficult. So that is actually the correct answer. So this is definitely a tough one. I was right. Alrighty. Third question, and this one was evil. Which of these defunct amusement parks has the largest defunct collection of roller coasters? Like I said, I didn't make this. Thanks to Frontier Coasters. We've been kind of trying to figure out what's the right difficulty. I think this one may have leaned a little too hard into the too difficult. But we'll see what ends up happening. But we have our next question. Alrighty, about 10 seconds for me left anyways. And the timer has run out. So the correct answer is C, Queens Park, also known as Long Beach Pike. It is the home of the one and only, or was the home of the one and only Bigsby's Spiral Airship Coaster. So that is the correct answer, and Jackson was the first, or not the first, the only one to get it right. So 1 on the board officially for Jackson. Congratulations. We'll move on to our next question, which is, which of these countries has the most amount of operating wooden coasters. In my opinion, the most answerable question of the ones we've gotten. So we'll see how this goes. Yes, answer away. We are about halfway through, so a lot of people going with the same answer. History and leisure, I think you might have countries confused. I will say that. India does not have 2 out of the 3 wooden wild mice. I think you got a little confused with another country there. And with that being said, the time has run out. So I think you're thinking of Indonesia. They have the 2 wooden wild mice coasters. And a lot of you answered A, but the correct answer is actually B, France. France has the most operating wooden coasters out of any of these countries. So that is the correct answer. This is an absolute gauntlet of a quiz, apparently. So, nobody got that one right either. Our next one, which of these coasters opened in 2005 out of these 4? Which of these coasters opened in 2005? Yeah, this quiz is a gauntlet. That's the only way you can describe it. India actually only has 1 currently operating wooden coaster. If 2, I guess you could say 2 if you count the one on sale, which I guess is still considered operating. It's not like the number actually counts, though. Like, France has more than that, so it wouldn't matter. Either way you count it, it still does not have the most of the bunch. Alrighty, and then let's see what answers have come in. Alrighty, that is the time that is up. So the correct answer is C, Rita at Alton Towers. So, what? Marty, I would have given you the answer correct if you had put C first, because that's what I would have went off of, but you didn't, so I'm not. So that's sort of unfortunate. But Jace is on the board with a point. James is also on the board with a point. Because with these quizzes, I go off of, if you put in multiple answers, only the first one counts. So, yeah, sorry about that. But that's the correct answer. Still anyone's game, because the lead is tied with 1 point between Jackson, 808 Coaster Life, and James. So we'll move on to our next question, which is, true or false, Mock Rides has never made a wooden coaster? Oh, wait. Oh, yes, you did. My bad. Jackson did get it right. So Jackson is in the lead. Yes. Thank you for getting that. I missed that. But anyways, true or false, Mock Rides has never made a wooden coaster? Man, everyone is going for the same answer in a 2-answer one. So is anyone daring enough to go with the opposite? We'll see. But the timer is indeed running out, so it is time is up. So, and history and leisure, I guess, like, you did get the question in, so I guess you could, I will take, I guess I can take that as you saying, wait, isn't it on a technical? Well, well, anyways, I guess I'll just get to the answer. The answer is actually false. So we only have one documented one, but it seems that they likely made multiple of them. But if you go on RCDB, Mock Rides did actually create a wooden wild mouse, and they probably actually did multiple, but they're only credited with one on RCDB. But they did make a wooden wild mouse coaster, so they have built a wooden coaster. So they have made one. So the answer is false, which is pretty crazy. I didn't even know this heading in. So yeah, Mock Rides, Wooden Wild Mouse. Remember, Mock Rides is like an insanely old manufacturer, so keep that in mind. And they were the wild mouse sort of dominators. So where was the wild mouse? Let me pull it up, because I do actually want to. I'll pull it up. Okay, yeah, I did find it. So it no longer exists. You can, I'll put it here. But something called Cirrus Foley. Probably horribly butchered that. It was at Expo 58 in Belgium. And then apparently it actually also operated for a short time at Slagharen. So, and there's apparently some video of it out there. Someone can go dig that up. It says on RCB. And apparently there's a promotional video of it somewhere. So, interesting. But that is indeed the correct answer, so no one got anything there. But we'll move on to our next question, which is, which of these parks has Six Flags never acquired? Again, which one of these parks has Six Flags never acquired? This is, I think, another one of those ones that's, of the bunch, one of the more answerable questions. We'll see how this goes. Wow, out the gate, everyone's going with the same answer again. So we'll see if that ends up being a good choice or not. Up to this point, it has not, that strategy has not worked. So we'll see if this is the one that changes the tide, I guess. And we're going down to our final few seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right, that is the end. And the correct answer is indeed D. Oakwood Theme Park is the only one of these Six Flags has never acquired. They have acquired every other park mentioned on here. So previously. So Jackson is on the board and has 3 points. 808 Coaster Life has 2 points. James has 2 points. And then we have History and Leisure on the board with 1. We also have Marty with 1. And then Michael has 1. So perfect. Alrighty. Think I got everybody there. So we'll move on to our next question, which is, which of these countries has never had an inverting coaster? So once again, which of these countries has never had an inverting coaster? Alrighty, final few seconds. I'm trying to find one of these, but because I remember looking at it and it was like weird. I want to explain the coaster in the picture. I just need to find it. Let's see. So the correct answer is actually B, which Jace got it right. So 808 Coaster Life gets on the board. Honduras is the, I probably butchered that, is the correct answer. So this coaster in the picture here is actually one of the coasters. This is the, no longer operates, but it is the one inverting coaster that Nepal has had in its history. We don't know what the name of it was, but this is a very cursed roller coaster because it is a shuttle human-powered inverting coaster. That's right. That's what it's listed as on RCDB. Human-powered. It is lifted up the hill by human power. Yeah. I mean, I think that's, I mean, what else is there to say? That is pretty wild. Had no clue about this coaster, and I wasn't even explained it. I just I looked at the specific one, and I was like, oh wow, this is such a weird ride. So there's some interesting info you probably didn't know, but we'll move on to our next question, which is, which of these kiddie coasters is the oldest? If, I guess, or family woodies, whatever you want to call them. Yes, which of these kiddie or family wooden coasters is the oldest? Answer away. And obviously, it is not the one in the picture. The last question, I guess that would have served as a hint, but I don't think anyone was familiar with that coaster in the picture. So this one, we just have Kingdom Coaster. A little bit larger scale than the other coasters we have listed here, but got the idea across, I suppose. So you do have that. Almost everyone's rolling with the same answer. Well, we'll see if that one works out. We have our final few seconds, and the time has run out. And so the correct answer is indeed D, Little Dipper at Six Flags Great America. So Michael gets a second point. James gets a third point. Marty gets a second point. And Jackson takes the lead once again with a fourth point. So we'll move on to our next question, which is, which of these coasters is the fastest? And I went to that pretty quickly, so I'll give a few seconds of buffer, but I am going to start the timer now. So which of these roller coasters is the fastest? Also, the coaster in the picture is not going to do you much. That is Montaña Rusa in Tibidabo, which I was not able to ride when I was in Barcelona, but it looks like a really neat coaster. So there is that. But out of these coasters listed, which one is the fastest? Yeah, the question is evil because, yeah, they're like very close to each other, history and leisure. You were dead right about that. The only outlier is like Teddy Bear is like way newer than the rest for the previous question. You are right about that. I was kind of like, wow, that's kind of, when I looked at that, that's kind of brutal. All right, time is up. So we will move on to the answer here, which is C. Dynamite at Freyze Park Plone is actually the fastest of the coasters listed. It goes Dynamite is the fastest, Cheetah Hunt is second fastest, Ravine Flyer 2 is the third, and then Big Dipper That being the Intamin Hot Racer at Luna Park is quite behind the rest, actually. So, I mean, I probably would have picked Cheetah Hunt, so I don't blame you there. And Ravine Flyer 2 also is a pretty decent guess, but it is Dynamite at Phrase 8 Park Plone is the correct answer. So we'll move on to our next question, which actually, so I guess for this, we do have our quiz winner. Jackson did win because we are doing 10 questions, but we'll do the bonus tiebreaker questions just for fun. But congrats to Jackson for winning. But we'll do a few questions for fun. And so we have this one. Which of these IPs have never officially been featured on a roller coaster? Does this not include knockoffs or unlicensed use of these IPs on a roller coaster? So, which one has never been used? Now, I will say all of these have been used on amusement rides, just not all of these have been used on coasters. So, we'll see how you all do here. But I will get the I guess put up the winner officially. So I'm going to do this from now on. So we do have our winner here. So we'll put that up. But anyways, for the question, you have about 10 seconds in my time to answer this. A little bit split, but it's between two answers. And the correct answer here is Dora the Explorer. Has never been used on a roller coaster. Has been used for some theme park rides, just not a roller coaster. Sonic used to be Sonic Spinball Wizard at Alton Towers. Kung Fu Panda has a roller coaster in Gardaland, I believe. And then the Smurfs has a coaster at Motion Gate, and I think there's another one somewhere else. So, Dora the Explorer, the only one of these. So, yep. Next, you have the second tiebreaker. So, or the second, bonus question, really. And our final one, which is, which coaster opened the same year as Finding Nemo when it released? So, and actually, I can take this down for anyone who needs to see the last answer. But I'll put this back up. I think you can still clearly see it. So, guess away. I think this may be the first question where, all the answers have been picked. Somehow this late into the game, I think this may be the first one where we have gotten everyone's answered something different. So someone is guaranteed to get this one correct. And this question is quite difficult. There's a reason why it was a bonus question. So, yeah. But anyways, the timer has run out. The correct answer here is B, Balder. So, James did get it correct. So, there you go. And that's going to do it for our quiz. Thanks to everyone for playing. Pretty difficult quiz, but it seemed like some questions were answered toward the end. So, hope you all had fun with that. And with that being said, we're going to move on to our next segment, which is buy or sell. So pretty much what this is, you probably know it, but previous guest I've had is Airtime Thrills. So this is like if you've seen how his videos work, this is very similar. You will tell me to buy or sell your predictions or just takes you have about coasters or the theme park industry, and I will buy or sell them. I will probably give this about a 10-minute timer in terms of questions coming in. I have started it now, so put in your buy or sell questions or predictions or takes, and I will go through them. So that's going to be the segment, and so that'll be the plan there. After this, we'll do some rounds of Guess the Coaster, and then we'll move on to the final Q&A and end of stream. So that is the plan there. You just forgot if it was 2002 or 3 and messed up and counted as okay. Yep. Yeah, there you go. So it's those questions are like, I see them, I'm like, they're funny questions, but man, they're kind of evil. The ones that have been like the Pixar movies in the same year as certain coasters open. I'm like, man, I mean, there's a reason those ones are tiebreakers. So I mean, granted, there's some other really tough questions. So yeah, but anyways, buy or sell, like I said, any takes, any predictions, give them away in the chat. So we'll be doing that. I guess I can, like, while we're on it, I do actually have one. I was talking about the RMC Raptors earlier. I didn't get to the parks that I thought were options for the US RMC Raptor. So there's actually really two that come to mind. Now, if we're saying this is like a for sure like 2025 project, which there's really only one option where I would assume that it would not be, but we're gonna assume this is a 2025 coaster. I think Kentucky Kingdom is actually one that has a decent chance. Herschel's been working a lot with RMC. We have T3, which they haven't seemingly done work to remove it yet, but say they remove it during the 2024 season or off season, and they build a Raptor. We know they were supposed to get one originally. So I do think that maybe the plans have come back for that, and we could be seeing an RMC Raptor for Kentucky Kingdom to replace T3. So in terms of thinking of where that Raptor could go, we also have another one that I've been thinking, if somehow this coaster is a 2024 project, this RMC Raptor coming to the US, there's only one park that I can really think of that would make any sense, and that is Fun Spot Orlando, specifically the location with White Lightning, because Fun Spot usually announces their coasters in November or December. Fun Spot Orlando is the only Fun Spot park so far that hasn't really gotten any RMC work so far. And I actually could see something working out where perhaps Fun Spot Orlando announces their RMC Raptor at some point during IAAPA, since they're usually like kind of involved in some way with like an event or something. I could totally see something like that happening. So I will say that that I could see that happening. So I wanted to mention that. Hello, Andre. How are you doing? We're doing some buy or sell. Our first questions have come in. A Herschel Park will get RMC's first Wild Moose coaster. Do I buy or sell that? Ooh, man. I mean, I like where you're thinking, and they did give RMC the chance with the sort of dark ride coaster, I guess, and the wooden coaster. So it definitely would make a lot of sense. But do I think they do it? It would really, like, where would it go? Probably not Dollywood. Actually, like, you can kind of take out, if you were expecting it to come within, like, say, next 2 to 3 years, you can probably take out Dollywood, Silver Dollar City, and I would probably take out Kentucky Kingdom as well. Because I think they would work on something more thrilling for a T3 replacement. So that kind of leaves, like, Wild Adventures, and the park has been pretty neglected. They did get a new investment last year, but maybe would that be a park they'd consider? The only problem is they already have a Wild Mouse, so I'm actually going to say sell. Just kind of running through all of those, there's not really anything that makes a ton of sense. So I will sell, though I do understand where the idea is coming from. So I will sell it. I think someone else will give it a chance first. Let's see. Buy or sell. Kings Island will become more attended per year from now on than Cedar Point someday, because the park is bigger in size while Cedar Point is limited in size. I'm going to say sell. I think Cedar Point, just the vibe of it, is that it's a much more like destination place. It's much more of that like actual resort. Whereas Kings Island is definitely improving, going in the right direction. But, and I'd have to look at how close their numbers are. But I don't see Kings Island overtaking Cedar Point, because I think Kings Island has a lot more competition within like the area, because yeah, you have Cincinnati right there, but like the other close by major cities all have parks that are also very close by, whereas Cedar Point, if you live in Cleveland or Detroit, you're probably going to Cedar Point, and those are two massive cities. There's not really a whole lot of other competition there, and it pulls from other cities, like even people from Cincinnati and like Columbus. Actually, I guess you could choose between Cedar Point and Kings Island, but like, yeah, I'd have to look at the numbers, but I still wouldn't buy that. I don't think that would happen, but, buy or sell. Cedar Point will get a dark ride before 2035. I'll buy it because they definitely need it. The only thing that is Cedar Fair getting new dark rides, we really haven't seen it, but I feel like if they want to trend more towards that resort for everybody, they need to get a dark ride. Like, they absolutely need to get one. The only thing is, I've heard like Snake River Expedition, they've kind of dialed back a lot of the stuff with that ride, which is the only thing that would be like, since that's such a theming heavy ride, that's definitely not something you want to hear. But I'll buy it because that's such a huge time frame, and it's something they really need to do. So I will definitely buy that. Alrighty, we have about 2-ish minutes left, so if anyone else wants to put in a buy or sell, now is your final chance. But like Cedar Point, I guess to go even further in on this, like since it literally rains a lot, sometimes you have like short storms. I guess it'd be bad because everyone would go straight to the indoor dark ride, but like, you just need to have something. Like, the fact that they don't have that it's just like they really need that. Like, shooting dark ride, whatever, like indoor boat ride, like whatever you have to do, just get something. Probably a few things, honestly, but at least like one dark ride would definitely be a start. It is crazy to have like the largest or one of the largest ride lineups in the world and you don't have one dark ride. And most other Cedar Fair parks have a dark ride. So, like, granted, pretty old ones, but they have them. So, yeah, definitely should get one of those for sure. But, yeah, all right. A Cedar Fair park will get an Intamin straddle coaster within the next 7 years. I'm going to say sell because I need to see it to believe it in terms of Cedar Fair being willing to work with Intamin again, or maybe even Intamin being willing to work with Cedar Fair again, given how certain things have went. I think that might actually go both ways. That's the timer, so we'll move on to the next segment after this, but no, I do not think they will. Especially now with like Zamperla with their family launch coaster option, Cedar Fair starting to work with Vekoma again. If they wanted a coaster of that type, they have other manufacturers they can go to. So I am definitely going to sell that, unfortunately. I know there's been some rumors about how some Cedar Fair parks are looking at the new Gen Intamins or whatever. It's something I have to see to believe, personally. So, I that's kind of just where I'm at. I think there would be some parks that could definitely use an Intamin straddle, but it's just a matter of if they're willing to actually work with them. So, I like the idea. I don't know that it's gonna happen. Alrighty, so that's gonna do it for our buy or sell segment. We're gonna do our guess the coaster game, which basically how this works. You get a coaster on RCDB that is recognizable enough, and you try to guess it. So, with that being said, I have actually already gotten my first coaster. So, guess away in the chat for like clues and whatnot. So, if you haven't played, you'll kind of see how the chat goes, and it'll become very apparent how the game goes. Is it in the USA? Yes, it is. Is it a steel coaster? Yes. So far we have US steel coaster. And I'm going to do 6 rounds for guess the coaster. So that's going to be the plan there. It is not in Florida, and it is not a sit down, and it is not on the West Coast. So none of those. Let's see what else comes in the chat here. Oh boy. It is not in Ohio, but it is inverted. So we do have an inverted US steel coaster. It is not at a Herschel park. So US steel inverted coaster. Let's see what else comes through the chat. It is not from B&M. So it is not a B&M coaster. And it is not Afterburn. It is not Batman the Ride. It's not Batman. It has no ties to Batman. But it is a Vekoma. So we do have a Vekoma inverted coaster in the US. So Vekoma inverted coaster in the US. And it does have inversions. So a Vekoma inverted coaster with inversions in the US. So yes. It is not Dragonfire. It is an SLC. So we do have a Vekoma SLC in the US. Well, I guess since it has... Oh, well, actually, no. I was smart not to say it was an SLC early on because it actually could have been some other things. So, but it is indeed a Vekoma SLC. It is not Mind Eraser. It is not Flight Deck at Canada's Wonderland. This is a coaster in the US, so we have a Vekoma SLC in the US. And let's see. Basically, it's just a gonna be, I guess, a race, I suppose, to who can get it, but we'll see. It is not Kong. Not Kong. It is not Thunderhawk. It is not the Great Nor'easter. And is it on eastern side of the US? It is, if you cut it down the middle, if you cut it down the middle, it'd be more eastern, but it's relatively central. So let's go by east of Mississippi. What states are east of the Mississippi? I think that's a good way to go. Technically, I guess it's not east of the Mississippi River, but it is not T3. But it is Nopuko Air Coaster at Lost Island. So Marty got it right. So Marty is on the board with a point. So congrats there. And we'll move on to our second coaster. So I'm going to get that real quick. Got it quite quickly. So guess away. We have our second coaster. It is not in Europe. So, not in Europe. We'll see what other questions come here in the chat. It is in the US. So yes, it is in the US and it is a steel coaster. So US and steel coaster. So far we have US steel coaster. It is not an Intamin. It is not in Florida. But we do have a US steel coaster. It is not over 200 feet. So US steel coaster is all we have. Not really narrowing it down much. It is not in Ohio. It is not between 120 and 140 feet. Very creative, but it's not. It does have inversions. So yes, we do have a US steel coaster with inversions. Is it east of the Mississippi? According to the map I am looking at, it is it is the entire state is not east of the Mississippi is the best way I can go about it. But part of it is. So, yeah, for whatever that's worth. It does not have a launch, and it is not from S&S. It is not Max Force, but it is in Minnesota. So, yes, we have a Minnesota steel coaster with inversions that is under 200 feet. So, Minnesota steel, and it is at Valley Fair, which actually makes it very easy at this point. It is not Rock Bottom Plunge. Just basically a race for who gets it at this point. It is, and 808 Coaster Life got it right, it is indeed Corkscrew at Valley Fair. So 808 Coaster Life is on the board. It is Corkscrew at Valley Fair. Alrighty, so we'll get our next coaster, which came up relatively quickly again. So already, we have our next question. Guess away in the chat. It is once again in the US, so we have another US coaster. So another coaster in the US. And let's see what else comes up. It is not in Florida, but it is at a Six Flags park, and it is a steel coaster. So Six Flags steel coaster in the US. It is not in Ohio. So we have US Six Flags steel coaster. This one is not east of the Mississippi River. And it is not from B&M. It is not Batman. My brother has joined the chat, and it's definitely not Medusa Steel Coaster because that's not in the US, but otherwise it would fit. It is not in California. It is not Goliath. It's not a Goliath of any sort, I should mention. It is not Intamin. So, what do we have? Six Flags Steel Coaster in the US. That is west of the Mississippi River. It's not Goliath 2. It is a sit-down. So, yes, it is a US Six Flags Steel Coaster west of the Mississippi River that is a sit-down. It is not at Frontier City. It is not Goliath 3. It is not Superman, but it is in Texas. It does not have inversions. It is over 200 feet, though. It is not Superman. It does not have a launch. No. That's like all the Goliaths. Okay, so 808 Coaster Life was the first one to get it for me, and it is Titan. The funny thing is, I'm going to give my brother some credit. He said Goliath too. This is, considering he doesn't know anything about coasters, this is actually hilariously pretty accurate. Because, I mean, Titan is basically Goliath 2 if you really think about it. So, I mean, you gotta kind of respect that because it's basically just Goliath at Magic Mountain with a turnaround. Or an upward helix, I should say. So, you were actually basically on the right track. It is better than Goliath, that is true. At Magic Mountain. But, Jace was the first one who got it, in my view. So, but like I said, had to shout out Gilgy on that one because that was actually a pretty funny guess. So, there you go. We're going to move on to our next coaster. And let's see. Trying to... Now it's taking a little bit for me to get one. Alright, we have our next coaster. It is not in the US, but it is in Europe. So we do have a European coaster. It is not wooden. So far we have European coaster. So, European coaster. It is in Germany, and it is a steel coaster. So we have a steel coaster in Germany. If it would come up on the StreamYard so I could click it, but... Alright, there we go. It is a steel coaster in Germany. It does have inversions, and it is not Silver Star, and it is not at Fantasia Land. So we have a steel coaster in Germany with inversions, and it is not at Fantasia Land. It is not a Europa Park. It's not. It is not Dog Fart Coaster, but you were close in terms of the name of it. But it is not Dog Fart Coaster. So once again, steel coaster in Germany with inversions. That is in Denmark, yes, but this is my brother. He's not like a coaster enthusiast, but he's trying, and I appreciate the effort. To be fair, you did have pretty good guesses the last round, like legitimately. So, I will give you credit there. It is, it's not Big Dipper. Though I will say it's not Big Dipper. That is not the name of the coaster, but that could be a clue. It is not at Hansa Park, and it is not at Heidi Park. won't elaborate on the clue I just gave much further, but if you can kind of figure it out, you can figure it out. It is not Little Dipper. That is, like, taking the clue in, like, the complete wrong direction. But, it is not a trips drill. So, let's see. So far, Huracan. That is the name of a coaster. Did you make that up on the spot? That actually is a name of a coaster. That is wild. But it's not that. I don't know. I think that might be in Germany too, which is funny, but it's not that. No using internet if that's what you're trying to do, Aiden. Movie park. It's not a movie park. It's not at Bellewaerde. But yeah, but yeah, no. Huracan at Belantis, right? Yeah, that's an actual. That actually would have been a decent guess. I don't know if, Aiden, you cheated or what, but that was actually a decent guess. Funnily enough. That is crazy. Let's see. Schwaben Park. No, it's not Schwaben Park. It is not Lost Gravity. It is not there. It is big. It has nothing to do with a star. It is not at Holiday Park. It is not Expedition G-Force. So just to run through, we do have a steel coaster in Germany with inversions that is in some way related to I'll say, the term Big Dipper. It is not at Movie Park Germany. Man, this one is a little tricky. It seems like it is not at Movie Park Germany. It is not at Europa Park. So, wow, this one is, this one's a tricky one. Recap. So, like I said, steel coaster with inversions in Germany. Oh, James just got it. It is Dynamite at Freyset Park Plone, which is a Mock Ride's Big Dipper. That is the name of the model. So, that was the clue there. Just complete coincidence. But Dynamite is the correct answer. Which we actually talked about it. I think I mentioned it earlier. So, yeah, because it was part of the quiz. So that was kind of crazy. But, yeah, there you go. The fast one from earlier. There you go. All right, we have our next one. Some of the ones we're getting, I cannot believe I'm getting these on random. You'll see what I mean when we get to it. But guess away. And actually, also, that's a point for James. So, put him on the board. So, 2 more rounds. It is not in the US. It is in Europe. So, we have another European coaster. It is not from Mock Rides. And it is not in Japan. So it is not in Germany and it's not in Denmark. So far we just have European coaster. It is not from Gerstlauer either. So European coaster is all we have. That's it for now. It is not in Belgium. So we are still chilling. It is not Saw the Ride. I think did I answer if it's not in the UK either? Oh my gosh, Marty got it. No way. Maybe me saying I could not believe it. It is Wild Train at Fantasiana. That is the correct answer. Wow. Well, there it is. Yep. Yep. Wild Train is the correct answer. Like I said, I could not believe I got that on random. But there we go. So, Wild Train at Fantasiana in Austria. That is wild. So, that is indeed the correct answer. Wow, we're just getting them quick. I have our next one, and this will be the final coaster. So, guess away in the chat. I do have the next one. It is in the US, so we are back in the US for this one. This is a US coaster, and it is wooden. So we do have US wooden coaster. So right off the bat, already getting some things out of the way. Goliath 6. It's not Goliath. Not this time. It is not in Ohio. It's not in Florida. It is not a GCI, and it's not east of the Mississippi River. It is not Jackrabbit. It is not from Gravity Group. So, basically, we have US wooden coaster west of the Mississippi. It is not Medusa Steel Coaster. It is in California, but it is not a CCI. So we do have a California wooden coaster. It is not in Texas. It is not Wild Mouse or a Wild Mouse. It is not Ghost Rider, but it is at a Six Flags park. So we have a wooden coaster at a Six Flags park. It is not Incredicoaster. It is not Ghost Rider. But we do have a Six Flags, a California Six Flags wooden coaster. It is not Apocalypse. And it's, yeah, already mentioned, it is not a GCI. So it is not Apocalypse. And I think everyone's having a moment here. Because all of a sudden, I think I can say it because I think it's true. This is not an operating wooden coaster because Apocalypse was literally the only one that it could have been. So we are dealing with a defunct coaster. I can say that now. We are dealing with a defunct wooden coaster. So yes. I don't deal with either or questions, but I'll take it as, is it in Northern California? I mean, it basically answers itself. This is not in Northern California. It is not Roar. It's not Twisted Cyclone. Dude, that's all the way in Georgia. Like, we wrote that. I think he meant Twisted Colossus, but it's not Colossus either. And I can say that because I did see that the answer did come in. It is Cyclone. The fact that you got close, Aiden, is wild. Because I saw that came in right at the same time. So you've actually been balling a little bit. But Marty did get it right. It is Cyclone. Which makes him the winner of our Guess the Coaster. So congratulations to Marty from New Zealand for winning Guess the Coaster. Got 3 out of the 6. So congratulations there. Thanks to everyone who played. And with that being said, we'll move into our final Q&A. This will lead to the end of stream. For those who were not here earlier, I mentioned that I just went to Orlando for the first time. I went there for Skynext, which is the event hosted by Skyline Attractions for 2 days. My first ever theme park industry event. Was really cool. Made a lot of connections and learned a lot of new things about just new ways to sort of navigate the industry, new information, new events that I can look into. So it was a really great time. Of course, like I said, met a lot of new people, which was cool. But also I got to go to Universal Orlando, SeaWorld Orlando, the two Fun Spot parks for the first time, along with Halloween Horror Nights at Universal, and even a little bit of Hallow Scream. So any questions that you have, yeah, I can answer them, and they can also relate to things that are not related to the trip. I just wanted to mention that. So yeah. But yeah, let's see. I did see Midway Mayhem. I did see Dan. I did. Believe it or not, I did see him. Wasn't able to talk to him, but I did see him. So yes, I actually did. I was not able to talk to him, unfortunately. Probably will have another opportunity to at some point. Just kind of feels like that would be something that happens. But I did see him, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I would have given it to you even if you didn't spell it right. It was just that Marty showed up first. Did I like Mako? So I think I've mentioned on the channel here my sort of thoughts on most B&M hypercoasters, and I'm not gonna lie, like going into Mako, I thought it was gonna be I wasn't gonna be as high on it as other people, and maybe I'm still not, but it definitely impressed me. It was my second favorite coaster of the trip. Really good. Second favorite B&M Hyper of the four I've done. Goliath at Over Georgia being my favorite, but I do rank Mako ahead of Shambhala and definitely Diamondback, like quite easily. So I thought it was really good. The airtime strength on it was definitely a little bit more up my alley, and I was able to get front row night rides on it, and those were fantastic. The sensation of speed when you were along the water, that was just amazing. Was with some people that I met at Skynext, which was really fun. So it was an absolute blast. Awesome coaster, and definitely can see why it gets the hype it does. I'm not gonna say. I mean, I'm not gonna like overhype it. I think there's people who like it much more than I do, but I did really enjoy it, and it is a really, really good coaster. Really, really good airtime. Really, really good sense of speed. So can't argue with that. What's the best Goliath? When is there going to be a Goliath tier list? When I ride all of them, perhaps. I've only ridden 2 of them, right? Over Georgia and Magic Mountain. Just trying to make sure I'm not missing any. Yeah, that sounds about right. Over Georgia 1, Magic Mountain 2. Pretty easily. Over Georgia's Goliath is amazing. It is, to date, still my favorite B&M coaster I've ridden. Whereas, really good airtime, like good balance of floater and almost like borderline ejector moments. Some really intense positive forces too, so really good ride. Very well paced as well. And then Goliath at Magic Mountain is what it is. It's like it just kind of doesn't really do a whole lot with what it has to work with. It's still a fine coaster, like you can still have some fun riding it, but it's a very kind of weak hyper coaster. So that's the only tier list I have. Goliath over Georgia S, Goliath Magic Mountain would be like in C tier. So Um, yeah. But anyways, Diamondback is good when you ride it in the middle of the train for some reason. I mean, I only rode in the front or back, but I just it ain't. I mean, I like it. Like, don't get me wrong. I still think it's a good coaster, but and I mean, and I can imagine there's some people who've gotten it with like the mid course like hardly hitting, and that would probably elevate it quite a bit. But I didn't get those. Like the mid course was hitting hard. Um, and it just, I mean, that's not it. It's just kind of like most of the hills felt very similar. There was not a whole lot of variety to the ride experience. It just kind of felt like, and it's mostly like very floaty airtime, but it's not, it's like sustained, but it's not very strong, which isn't really what I like. So I think it's a personal preference thing, but I'm just a lot lower on Diamondback compared to most. So I did not see the new Loki episode, so I have no thoughts on it. Will California ever get a Giga like the eastern US states? Well, some people would lead you to believe that Magic Mountain's getting one in 2025. I don't really know that I believe that. Eventually, it's tough because it's Magic Mountain and Knott's Berry Farm are the only parks that are going to do it. And it's kind of like Knott's. They can't really get anything to get approved, which kind of just leaves Magic Mountain as our only hope. And entrusting Six Flags to build a Giga Coaster for Magic Mountain just doesn't seem like a good idea or a good thing to count on. So I'd love to see it. Maybe like I think like if you're saying like I guess you're asking ever. I think eventually some like thing somehow works out, but I don't know how soon it's gonna be. But I will say yes. Yeah, floaty airtime's great. Yeah, I mean I like it. It's just like I think I'm more like ejector, so that's just kind of my preference there. But yeah, so I'll probably have this up for like another 5 minutes probably, and then I'll probably head out. But another fun stream. I guess a little on the shorter side, but I actually was kind of hoping it ended up being that way. So probably going to be about 2.5 hours about once it's all said and done. Best themed roller coaster can't be Disney or Universal. I think I'm trying to think of if I'm missing obvious ones. There's some good shout outs I could give that are not going to be Disney or Universal, but I think I do have a clear one, unless I'm forgetting something like really obvious. Blazing Fury at Dollywood. Yes, I know the theming's kind of cheesy, but I don't know. I think I still like it. It's not like the best one, but I wanted to give it a mention. And then definitely Furious Baco at in terms of theming, because I like Furious Baco more than the ride I'm gonna bring up. But Furious Baco at Port Aventura definitely was a really good one in terms of like the theming with the pre-show and whatnot, even if one of the animatronics was broken when I was there. But yeah, so but the one I'm gonna go with is actually Mystery Mine at Dollywood. I think in terms of theming level, that's the best one. I was very pleasantly surprised with the theming, the soundtrack, like the whole vibe of it, the fire effects. Like, I think that's the best themed. Like, if you just are counting theming, best themed coaster outside of Universal or Disney that I've done. There might be one that I'm like completely blinking out on that's like pretty good, but that's the one that like pretty instantly comes to mind. I guess Ice Mountain Bobsled, it could be a decent shout. That's a funny one. So I'd actually throw that one in there. I think it's a fun ride. I just found out that it's like one of the worst rated US coasters according to Captain Coaster, which I think is absurd. I think it's a fun ride. I don't really get why people don't like it. I guess like the cars are too claustrophobic or something. So, yeah, but I'll take questions, like I said, next like 2 minutes, and then probably head out. Thank you all for, of course, checking this out, whether you watched it live or watching it afterwards. Really appreciate it. There should be some new content coming soon. I will be focusing on getting the Oaks Park little vlog thing out. Just a lot of things have kind of come up that have pushed it back, but that should be coming out. That should be the next piece of content here. And then I do plan to do a Universal Orlando tier list at some point. Don't know if that's going to be before or after the next stream, but that's going to be something that I will do eventually. I'm not sure when the next stream is going to be. That is still up in the air. But at absolute worst, I probably will do one. I'll try to avoid going longer than a month for them. So, like, I'll probably do one within, like, the next month. So, I think that would probably be a good bet. Yeah, so, like, within a month from now, basically, I think would be a good bet. But I'm not sure of exactly when. I don't have a future stream, like, planned, and I don't have, like, I have guests I'm talking with, but I haven't made, like, specific plans, just with everything that's been kind of the busyness of my schedule and coming back recently, like, less than 2 weeks ago for my trip. So we'll kind of we'll work with that. What's the next park I'm planning to visit? So I actually don't currently have any trips planned right now. Now that could very quickly change. There's one thing I'm looking at, but the more and more I look at it, I think it's just the timing is not going to work out. I mean, in terms of something I was looking at, but that might be a next year type thing. Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure yet. I mean, I guess ideally, like, I'd go back to Magic Mountain at some point here, but that's probably not going to happen super soon, just because things haven't, like X2's been down recently, and there's just a little bit of a hassle there. So we'll see. I couldn't give you a clear answer. Probably whatever it is will be like, I go there and it's like, oh, well, this is not exactly what I was expecting to be the next one. So that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. I don't have one that I have planned right now. So, I do want to do streams, like, it depends on the month and it depends on my schedule. Ideally, I'd like to get out, like, 2 a month. I think that seems fair. There's going to be points where that won't be possible, and so 1 a month is more realistic. So, and that's probably what's going to happen with this next episode, is just kind of my guess based off where things are at right now, but we'll see. So that's going to be pretty much it. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for all the questions, participating in all the segments. Really appreciate it. I'm excited to get some new content out, like I said, with the new videos and future streams, and hopefully somewhere in there, or at least a little longer term, I also want to get the interviews back into the fold. The industry interviews I had been doing, that's something I also want to kind of focus on, but that's probably a little ways away. But yeah, appreciate you all watching, and that should be that. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time here on Coaster Hour. See you all.